Your City Commission meeting. Forgot to do that. Please turn off or silence all cell phones during the meeting. Meetings are available for viewing on YouTube. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is old business, minutes from December 9, 2025, regular meeting, and December 15, 2026, special meeting.
I move we accept the minutes as read.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Please begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Moved and passed. New business. First item on new business is public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. In the interest of time, we ask that groups wishing to speak limit their public comments to 1 presenter. This is an opportunity for the City Commission to hear the thoughts in the public prior to conducting official city business. The Mayor, City Commission, and City staff have been asked not to respond to those giving public comment, and action may not be taken by the Commission on public comment items. The Mayor may direct staff to follow up with specific individuals after the meeting. When speaking, please state your name and address. Do we have anyone?
We do. We have 3 people signed up. First up is Harold Peterson.
Harold Peterson, address 1001 10th Avenue. My topic is Stockton Road, which basically in that is listed as no outlet. I can show on my cell phone proving in that basically in that the electric company goes through there with poles and so on, and it is not a blocked off outlet. We need to do something about that road because it's getting really tore up real bad, and upon which in that I don't know who's responsible. Is it the electric company that's supposed to fix that road, or is it the city? That's the big question I have, because if you look at it, it's in real bad shape. And a portion of it is paved, which is basically city, but it needs to be, something's got to be done.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Penny, can we
Thank
have
you.
someone
Thank you.
look into that, please?
Melissa, can we make sure we get his contact information? Thank you.
Okay.
Next up is William Rogers.
Okay.
Commissioner Mayor, thank you. William Rogers, 73rd and Leavenworth Road. On March 25th, 2025, you elected officials and several staff received an email from John Malloy with Core Civic. In that email, he spoke about some of the great things they were going to do, specifically the amount of pay, the starting pay, also about the one-time impact fees, and he also talked about the continuation of $1 million in tax revenue that they would be paying to the city. So I thought, what is that additional property tax going to look like for the property tax owner, or could it look like, I guess? And that would be the decision as a commission. So I pulled the tax records to 97 for Core Civic, if anybody cares to see them, and we put them, charted them, so you can go year by year. Typically, Core Civic pays 23 to 24% in property tax to the city. I did not realize that money that they pay, that $1 million, is divided in so many ways between the school district, the state, Leavenworth County, and again, the city gets about 22 to 24%. That, I don't know why, but that really dropped in the year. The percentage-wise really dropped around 2013. And I don't know why that happened, but that's beside the point. The continuation of $1 million in tax revenue. Core Civic, the last time they paid $1 million is in 2016. It's diminished ever since. And I visited with your county appraiser over at Leavenworth. We had a nice visit, and the Core Civic, I would actually think it would be good for you guys to have him come in and speak to you. It's very intriguing the way that Core Civic is appraised. It's not like a typical house or any other retail. Anyways, in 2025, Core Civic paid about $419,000 in property tax. 2020, the last year they were in full operation, they paid $844,818. So what does that mean for the taxpayer here? Property tax payers in Leavenworth County, there's 535 commercial, 9,604 residential, so a total of 10,139 people companies paying property tax. If you took the additional money and divided it up between each one evenly, and I understand that's not how it happens, but that's the way I had to do it for my math, because I don't know how you guys do it. But that comes out to be, for every 100,000 more that you would receive here in the city, you would receive an additional, let me look at these numbers here, I apologize. Well, if the property tax went back to $1 million, it would mean an additional $13.75 for each individual taxes, or $1.14 if you pay it monthly. It's about $2 and something for every 100,000 if you wanted to take it and figure it that way.
Okay, can you get to your point real quick? Your time is up.
Yeah, I did get to. I just wanted to say that the property tax, I think it's interesting that what the additional would be brought in by the city, and that maybe, that's something to consider as you.
I can explain to you more about how our taxes are done later, but not.
Yeah,
not
I
right
do
now.
find that interesting.
Okay, thank you. Any-
Yep, our last sign up is Rick Nichols.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. I've covered meetings in the last 11 years in an adjoining county, and I watched a guy thrown out of a county commission meeting yesterday before he hardly started talking. So I hope that didn't happen with me, and I don't think it will. Interview on January 8th with Donald Trump by the New York Times. This is asked in light of questions in light of the targeting of the drug vessels and the occupation or the takeover of the guy down in Venezuela. They asked him if there were any limits to his power. He said, there is one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me. I don't need international law. Kristen Monroe, in an article that came out today in the MS Now, talks about Lawrence Kohlberger's sixth stage of moral development, and she basically writes that Trump is about stage 2, which is about the stage of a toddler. Which in stage 2 is what's in it for me. Okay, so we've got this guy who's running the Department of Homeland Security in charge of all this ICE stuff, and this is going off of what William was talking about, but these are the people that want to bring ICE into Leavenworth, and they talk about all the supposed good things that are going to happen here. Well, I don't think so. Back in December, I was listening to the public radio station that Mr. Trump and his allies defunded while they sunk a lot of money into Homeland Security, millions and millions of dollars. Anyway, they had a neat little story, and the lady said, the world's biggest collection of nutcrackers is in Leavenworth, Washington. Okay? If we put this place in, we're going to have the biggest collection of nutcrackers here, except it's going to be a different kind of nutcracker, and it's not going to be a good image. So is that the kind of image we want here?
We
Yes,
did.
minute.
Yes, thank you.
Is my time up?
You have a minute, sir.
A minute left, thank you. Is that the kind of image we want here? Particularly if we're trying to get away from this prison town mentality that has gone on, and I don't know that we can ever shake it, but putting ICE in here is not going to help the image. So, to close, in the time I've got, I'm going to remind you and everybody else who's listening not accusing anybody of anything, but Liz Cheney told her fellow Republicans, Donald Trump will soon be gone, but the shame of all of you, anybody that's enabling Trump, that shame will remain. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is that it, sir?
That is the last one, yes.
Thank you. Okay, general items. First one on the agenda is mayor's appointment. Let me pull it up here a second. Okay, I move to reappoint to the Airport Advisory Board Jeff Booma, Bob Euler, Lisa Hack, and Greg Cos to terms ending December 31, 2028. To appoint, do you mind if I do these all together?
No.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Appoint to the Convention and Tourism Committee for the Leavenworth Main Street, for the Leavenworth Main Street Board Member position, Samantha Carpenter, to an unexpired term ending January 31, 2028. To reappoint to the Deer Management Advisory Committee, Clay McDaniel, Ed Menard, and Jamie Whitworth, to terms ending December 31, 2028. Appoint to the Leavenworth Planning Commission, Ted Davis, to an unexpired term ending May 1, 2028. To reappoint to the Parks and Community Activities Board, Wendy Sachin, Marion Tennant, and Esteban Steve Zamora, to terms ending January 15, 2029. And to reappoint to the Sister City Advisory Board, Terry Weekly, to a term ending December 31, 2028. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting with Commissioner Maxwell.
Aye.
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 Okay, just so you know, all of these appointments to the advisory boards are, we have 20-some boards that we appoint people every year. So if you're looking for a volunteer position, please contact us, because we'll have more coming up throughout the year. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is consider transient merchant permit waiver request for the military collector's show.
The next 4 items will be handled by City Clerk Sarah Bodensteiner.
Okay.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, before you this evening for consideration is a request for the transient merchant permit waiver to use the Riverfront Community Center on February 6th and 7th of this year for a military collector show. Mr. Brown is the applicant and has held the show at the Riverfront Community Center for several years. He took over doing the show from his father. So this is something that has come up year to year. The show typically has between 40 and 50 vendors, both local and out of state, and the vendors do sell their items. The city code prohibits transient merchant permits on city property, to include the Riverfront Community Center. However, the city code does allow the commission to grant a waiver. All fees for the use of the facility and permits would still apply. The waiver would simply allow the sale to be held at the Riverfront Community Center. So tonight, the request before you is to grant the waiver for the transient merchant permit. And with that, I will turn it over for any questions you may have. And I believe I saw Mr. Brown in the
So as I
audience.
say,
Yep, there
is
he
Mr. Brown here?
If you have any questions for him.
Okay. Would just like to see if you want to say anything about the show.
Well, good evening. Again,
Evening.
we've had this show going in now in its 3rd decade. We've had it at multiple locations here in Leavenworth and at Fort Leavenworth. And as was pointed out, this was started by my father. He was a instructor up at Command General Staff College for about 38 years. So,
Great.
but we've done it here in the town. We've had a very good response. And as I stated, we've had around 40 to 50 different vendors, over 100 tables put into the gymnasium. And it's been an event that many have looked forward to.
Okay, it's February 6th and 7th, and what are the times?
We'll be opening on the 6th from 4 to 8 for our vendors to set up early. They like to come in and check to see what everybody has. And then we'll open on Saturday, 7 for the vendors and 9 for the public.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for
No,
Mr.
seems
Brown?
like it goes every year, it goes really well, brings people into our community. I think it's great.
I have no issues, but my one question is just, it says that there can be no more than 2 licenses for transient merchants per calendar year. Is that per person?
Per person, yes.
Okay, not per total. Okay, I gotcha. Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Brown? Okay, thank you, sir. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver of the transient merchants permit for the use of the community center for the military collectors show on February 6th and 7th, 2026.
I will second.
Moved and seconded, please begin voting. Commissioner Wilson.
Yay.
Aye.
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 It's been passed. Thank you very much. 2026 cereal malt beverage licenses.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, before you this evening for consideration are 2 on-premise establishments for 818 Nail Salon and Town Pub seeking renewal of their 2026 cereal malt beverage license, and 1 brand-new license for Pioneer Food Mart, which is a new owner taking over 700 Eisenhower, formerly known as Shop Smart 2, for an off-premise cereal malt beverage license. All the applications have come in as they are required to. The police department has performed their records checks and approves the applications. So tonight we are just requesting formal approval to issue those licenses.
Okay. Any questions of Sarah?
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of the 2026 cereal malt beverage license as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Wilson, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is consider request regarding special assessments for grass and weeds for 714 Kiowa, 1017 Osage, and 403 Olive.
Sarah. So this item is a request from the current property owner to abate or reduce special assessment nuisance fees on those 3 properties, 714 Kiowa, 1017 Osage, and 403 Olive. In 2024 and 2025, these properties did require multiple code enforcement mowings due to tall grass and weeds. While invoices for those mowings did go unpaid, the city followed its standard procedure by filing liens and ultimately placing special assessments on those properties, as allowed by state statute and city code. Although the current owner purchased the properties through a county tax sale and was not the owner at the time of the violations, these mowings and admin fees do run with the land and not the property, not the property owner. So those fees were what was assessed regardless of who owned the property at the time. The assessments reflect administrative fees established by ordinance in addition to the actual cost of mowing. In the past, the commission has occasionally reduced similar assessments to the actual cost of the mowing plus a $100 administrative fee per property. So tonight, the commission is asked to consider whether to waive the fee in full, reduce as was what was kind of recommended in the policy report, modify to a different amount, or deny the request from the property owner. And I invited the property owner, and I'm not sure if I see them here this evening. But that is what is before the commission tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have of the process or.
Some of the things we've done in the past with these type of properties is they are blight on the community, and somebody coming in and buying these and at the sale and fixing them up. We have reduced what would be administrative fees and mostly kept in place of what the costs were. So, I mean, that's kind of a history of.
So when he bought these,
Cut
you
me off.
know,
I guess so.
when he bought these, he knew there's some liens on them. I mean, yeah, this is the price of doing business, right, with.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to fix the clock, it's not working for me.
Okay, he knew this could happen, that he's gonna have liens.
So when you go to a tax sale,
Right.
I have spoken with Roger Mars of the county specifically about this. Their website posts that you're buying kind of,
As is.
hate to say, yes, as is properties, I don't wanna say buyer beware, but there are things, there's a
Right.
reason it's in a tax sale. And with that comes neglected properties due to deceased owners, and so taxes have not been paid. So you do take on that risk of buying a tax sale property that has liens, assessments, things like that from the municipalities from it not being taken care of. So
Right.
I know Mr. Marge always tells people, do your homework if you're interested in a property.
Because at the
Whether
sales
they
themselves, they don't really come out and say what those liens are. do
They'll
they?
typically list them and say it's with the city of Leavenworth.
Okay.
They'll give the document number that's recorded in land records, so you could either call the city. I know I take calls before tax sales where people ask me about certain properties, so we'll look that up and just let them know what's going on, or they can contact the county as well.
Okay.
I have a question about the timing of 714 Kiowa, because it says in his email he bought it at the 2024 tax sale, but the fees were issued in 2025. So do you know, did he own that one? Because the other two say he bought them at 2025, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it does say 2024. in the
So I'm
summer.
wondering if that's a mistake, or...
double check, but I believe on the dates of the mowing, so these are when the lien, like that first date, the April 15th day, is that what you're talking about?
What's at the top, 714,
Yeah.
purchased at the 2024 tax sale, and then for reference, I acquired it in the summer of 2024 and received the deed thereafter.
Yeah, but it says the lien was on April, so,
Correct, for 2024 mowing.
for 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's generally
Okay.
a lag time.
I
When the
understand.
city incurs the costs, what we generally do is put a notice in the Register of Deeds office of those to give property owners record notice that is there.
Okay,
But there's a gap of time because those assessments then do not get certified to the county until August of a certain time. And then, only then might they be added to a foreclosure action. So there could be
Gotcha.
gaps in time where we have provided notice, at least by recording a document, but they haven't been administered through the tax foreclosure sale as a lien that might get wiped out at a tax foreclosure sale because they haven't been certified by that point.
that makes
So
sense.
there is a gap in the timing of when we file a lien versus certify assessments and tell the county, hey, go collect these, because
Yeah.
they haven't been paid.
And do we know if he's done anything so far with these properties, like to make them, like is he up to code or has he? Cause he
That
bought one
I
in
have not.
Has he
2024.
pulled permits? Or-
That I have not checked.
I
Because his
looked-
request was specifically for weed and
Yeah, it
for
looks like-
mowings, that we did not look at that. And if it were like a demo request, we probably would
Yeah,
have
I
bring
guess
that up
that makes
as
sense.
work been done.
I looked him up, it looks like he's a flipper, he's a realtor flipper, so that's probably what he's gonna do with them.
Okay.
He said he worked for, he was a realtor.
Okay.
I mean, do we do this for locals? Like when someone local buys it and anybody can request this?
It would be anyone who would request it, and because the city commission is who is the body that assesses the amount, you guys would be the ones that would make this decision. So anytime this request would come in writing to our office, we would schedule it to bring before you guys,
Okay.
make that determination.
Keep in mind that the city does incur hard costs for the mowing. We pay a contractor to do that work. There may be some difference with that and the administrative fees, which is the city staff doing the work to bring this process along.
Yeah, I'm for sure wanna collect on the money the city's out for mowing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%,
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
agree.
I don't,
In my experience, and don't hold me to it exactly, I've seen the city commission consider this many different ways. You know, sometimes it's dependent on the condition of the property, sometimes it's dependent on if somebody
different.
does show up. So I've seen you treat this various different ways.
Yeah, it's been done differently over the years too, depending on the property and what the person plans to do with it. I mean, if they're
Or
gonna
if they
spend.
show a sign of good faith that this is gonna be something.
I know, I kinda wish I knew if
What
he
he
was
was
working
here.
on it
Right.
or like what the plans were before we decided. I kinda wish he was here. I don't know, it's tough.
Did you drive around and look at them?
No, I should've. That's my bad.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we could just reduce it to the mowing maybe.
Whatever your thoughts are.
I feel like, I don't know what I feel. Part of me feels like, hey, he's a realtor, he's a flipper. He knew these costs going into it, you know. But at the same time, if he's gonna fix them up and make a blighted property look nicer, then I feel like, you know, also we could give him a deal, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. Thoughts?
I think, I'm in favor of reducing. If he would have been here, I might have considered waiving it, but I think since, he wasn't here, I think we need to make sure that we cover the costs that we've incurred.
For sure.
Any thoughts?
Well, and you can reduce part of the administration fee if you want to reduce the
Yeah,
whole thing.
can we just
So there-
reduce part of the administration fee and not
You
the
can do
whole
whatever
thing?
you want to with this.
Like, maybe half, and then the hard cost for mowing it?
If you would like to do that.
I mean,
Make a
that's
motion. You
kinda
wanna make
like
a
what
motion?
I'd give him a little bit of a break, cause, I mean, he's gonna make some money off of them, it sounds like probably, cause you ain't buying 3 properties just to live in one,
Right.
True.
so.
You wanna make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, we pay the hard cost for the mowing and half of the assessed, or the,
Wait a minute.
Administrative.
not right.
administrative fees
But like we
That you
collect.
reduce,
Yeah,
okay.
we're reducing.
Reduce to half of the administrative fees and the total and the hard cost for the actual mowing.
Okay, do y'all understand that?
So
The motion, as I understand it, would be that you are reducing the amounts owed only by reducing by half the total amount of administrative fees.
Yes.
And
So-
not reducing at all the amount of the
Correct.
hard cost of mowing.
Right.
So the owner would be responsible for the cost of mowing and half of the administration fee?
Yes.
correct.
Okay, I'll go with that. Is
I'll
there a
second that.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Please begin voting, Mr. Maxwell.
Aye.
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 Right. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda.
I will be handling this
sorry,
one.
go
No,
ahead.
I'll be handling this one, I just.
Good, okay.
And I apologize in advance, I've got my microphone over here, I want to try to look at you over here, but I've got my notes over here, so if
Okay.
I'm looking at a few places, I apologize. I have maybe an unusual matter for your consideration this evening, in that I'm recommending that you take an action that may not have a true practical impact on things. But maybe it's the attorney in me that wants to follow the code procedures that we have, that certain notices have been given, and just wants to wrap some things up with a nice bow. I'm gonna be asking you to consider a formal revocation action of a lodging permit from 2025. This involves the Home to Suites property located at 250 Delaware. They, as all hotel operators do in the city, operate under a lodging establishment license. Their own license expired by its own terms on December 31st, 2025. But during 2025, for several months, they have been well behind on payment to the city of their transient guest taxes. That is the transient guest tax is a 10% charge that the city imposes upon the gross receipts on basically hotels or motels or similar types of operations that generally go into the city's economic development fund or intended to be used for economic development purposes. I'm going to interject here one thing that I am not going to speak tonight on the dollar amounts and such. Those types of figures, sales tax figures and things like that, there are statutes that prohibit the disclosure of some of those. And so if I was to publicly address what the certain dollar amounts are, somebody could wind those back and determine, okay, this is what level of business a business is doing and things
Oh, I
like
see.
that.
Yes.
So, yeah, under statute, the same rule applies for sales taxes. You know, oftentimes you say, well, how is XYZ business doing? Well, what are their sales taxes? That is information that is generally protected. So I'm gonna not address actual dollars amount, but they have been well behind, and as I put in the memo, you can see kind of where they got very behind through the months, but did pay up, you know, through about September. As of October 31st, Home Suites had made no payments for August, September at that time. There was a catch-up payment later on. And so the city clerk, with my assistant, sent them a letter essentially notifying them that they are obligated to pay the transient guest taxes. They have not been doing that, that they are, you know, indebted to the city for those amounts, and that it would be the city's intent to revoke their license if they were not caught up with their transient guest taxes. Now, again, at this point, this is, you know, October, so we're still running near the year, and this is kind of where I start getting to, even though it's expired, there's still a process that started, and why I'm saying we should probably still take some actions tonight. The city did not receive the required payments from Home to Suites. Then in December, the city sent Home to Suites another letter saying that their 2025 license had been temporarily suspended administratively. That if things went unpaid, their upcoming 2026 license would not be granted. And that as a result, they would be prohibited from doing business within the city. Later, about mid-month December, they did make an additional payment, catching them up to August. But as of today, unless Sarah tells me something completely different that has happened in the last 3 hours or so, they're delinquent on September, October, and November, and soon will be delinquent now for their December as well. Again, Home 2 Suites, their license expired by its own terms as of December 31st, 2025. My understanding is that as of today, they have not applied for, and the city has not issued a new annual license to operate, though we understand that they may be continuing to operate at this point.
So they have not applied?
That's
for
my
the-
understanding
for
from the.
a permit.
From the staff office.
Okay.
So, this is where I get into why am I asking you to do something, even still tonight. So notwithstanding that their 2025 license has expired, and that they haven't applied for the 2026 license, that has been currently suspended, and that the city at this point would not issue a 2026 license because of debt to the payment, my reading of the ordinance that we have, and especially since we gave notice to them of the city commission would hold a hearing, we invited them to a hearing for intention to revoke the 2025 license, I want to still see that process through. Again, this may be belts and suspenders together, or may not have a practical effect, but I don't like the idea of telling a business that, we've scheduled a hearing, not providing that hearing that we've told them would be scheduled, and just kind of leaving something out there floating, an administrative action on something. So my recommendation tonight is that you allow, I don't know if a person is available here tonight, the owner of Home 2 Suites to speak to this matter. And then I would recommend that the city commission take formal action to revoke any type of permit, operating permit, that even could be applied to the 2025 year. When it comes to 2026, I think that's a separate matter that takes care of itself, or will be taken care of administratively as we move forward.
Okay.
We know that amounts are owed. The city clerk would not issue a license if they are not having a license to operate for 2026. That can be handled at the administrative level at this time about, businesses operating. So that would not be an action for you to take moving forward as to 2026. But I do think that to see the process through, my recommendation is that you allow the resident or the property owner to speak if they are here on this matter, and that you take appropriate action.
Can I ask, how,
Please.
if they don't have a permit, how are they open? I mean, I just went to the Hilton website and I can book tonight.
Well,
I just
the
had a
city,
meeting last night.
What?
I
Yeah,
think-
I mean, how
I
do
hope
we?
you can appreciate that, we have not, the city does have enforcement mechanisms in place. Generally speaking, I'm not gonna speak for, the city staff on all levels here. We generally attempt to try to work with property owners as much as we can. Even enforcement actions do take time, citations, scheduling, if there needs to be a
Sure.
court hearing, things like that. So all those things do take time. So, we are just in the first, 2 weeks here of January, and those types of things will be followed up on. My understanding is that the property owner has reached out to city staff about getting caught up. There is no formal plan that's been approved at this time, but I know that staff is at least having those preliminary conversations. And just as they would do with any business that might be behind on something, trying to catch up, trying to get to working, they'll probably work with them. But certainly in the back of our mind, we have to understand that at some point we may need to take further legal actions to stop businesses that shouldn't be operating from operating.
Yeah, well, and it's tax money.
Right.
Is the owner here tonight? No. Okay.
I have like 2 questions. The first question is, so it's about the motion that we would be considering, that's suggested. If it says currently has or may have to operate hotels, so would passing this motion, if for some reason they did get in touch and make a plan to get caught up in 2026, would that prohibit a license from being issued ever?
No, I think at this, the may have is that's not a term that is speaking prospectively in the future. It's referring to a potential claim of some right to operate, is what I mean by that language.
Okay.
So there's a license, as some of you will be familiar from our past years, some of our discussions have been about whether there is a permit or whether there is something that is deemed to have a permit, and having to track those arguments about whether a permit is a piece of paper or whether it's some other right that might be claimed. So the term may have in that sense isn't about in the future. It is about the argument or claim outside of the piece of paper license that someone may have.
And then my second question is, have we reached, is this a franchisee of Hilton?
I don't know that information.
I believe it's part of a larger organization.
I mean,
I know Sarah's
yeah.
been in touch with them frequently.
Generally, all hotels, even if they're not franchisees, that might not be quite the right word.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
operate under what's called a flag
Okay.
of hotels, so they have agreements in place, standards for operation and things like
Yeah,
that.
because I was like, does Hilton know, like corporate Hilton, that this is happening? Because I'm sure they wouldn't like it.
That is not who our contact has been.
Okay.
It's a different name of a company, it's who
Sure.
we've been working with, and that's who has been paying the previous years, has been making the payments, who we've been in communication with.
Okay.
Some of our communication has included the general manager in town, so at least we're trying to loop them in.
Yeah.
Because we know it's not coming from Hilton corporate necessarily.
Right,
So
right.
just making sure we keep as many people in the loop of what's going on, but.
Yeah,
So again, practically speaking, staff is gonna be addressing this, now moving forward to 2026. But for these purposes, again, I don't like the idea of telling a business that, you have the opportunity to appear before the city commission and then not providing that opportunity that we told them they would have.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense.
And then, just to kind of put a button and a bow on it, just to the extent there even might be something to do with 2025, having a formal action that says, no, that's all done, and the city commission recognizes that.
I guess I have issue that again, it goes back to the license. Would we allow a liquor store to sell alcohol without a license? Would we allow a daycare to be open without a license?
I don't know.
I mean,
No.
no.
We would not allow it. It's a question of then how do we enforce it?
Some of those are also, those permissions are a little bit different in that you're talking a little bit more about maybe a little bit more intense public safety angles and things like that, whereas this is more generally a general business license of operating. So you might be able to draw some distinctions there in terms of priority and such, but this is always, something that no matter any business that is out of compliance, generally staff's first efforts are to voluntarily get compliance, before bringing a legal hammer down on businesses or residents.
When are you asking for them to appear, if that's?
This was tonight.
So they were asked to appear tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're not here.
Okay, and they're not
They're
here?
not here, okay.
Well, and I know just from my meeting with the city manager that Sarah spent a lot of time trying to collect these taxes over the last year, basically, and they've been
I also tend to
behind.
think that allowing that public hearing provides at least an indirect notice that this is on the city commission's radar, and that you expect this to be resolved.
And so you're saying that staff will take appropriate
Staff will,
actions?
yeah, staff will continue to follow
Yeah.
up on this. We've had some recent conversations.
Okay,
But, there could be, at this point, since there isn't a license, there wouldn't be a revocation of a license because it
Yeah.
doesn't exist, so there'd be different legal steps that would follow rather than probably coming to the city commission.
Yeah. I just think this is a bad image. I think that we're
Somebody
not
just,
being fair. We're allowing these people to run without a license, and we wouldn't do that with other places. I feel like they need to have a license. I understand we can put them on a payment plan for the taxes, I get that. But to be running without a license, and we require all these other places to do that,
Well, in hotels.
Yeah, I don't, the other hotels?
The other hotels are not delinquent, just this one.
Yeah,
So-
what if they
I
stop?
mean,
I don't know.
we can, if it is the consensus of the council, or the commission, I'm sorry. I'm hesitant, because to say that, the city commission should direct police actions or such.
For sure.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
if there is a consensus of the commission that you would like city staff to be aggressive in terms of looking at barricading, locking, what have you, removing people that might be there, that is something that, staff can be looking at
Well, and that's-
on a more immediate measure.
That's outside of this motion.
That's outside of this, but,
Right,
this would be an opportunity to provide some direction as to what you'd like staff to focus on and.
I'd rather taper it out. I don't wanna kick anyone out of that hotel who,
I would agree, I don't think we wanna go in
I'd rather
there
like
and
No.
start
try and
kicking
find a way
people
to cancel reservations that haven't happened yet and just let, but that's beside the point. We should open the hearing and then, right?
Well, they're not here.
I mean, I think, I think you've provided the opportunity.
Oh, okay,
for
so
that.
we don't need to do that, okay.
No one has volunteered that they are here to speak on this matter.
Alright.
And this isn't a typical public hearing that is open to the public.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for the person
Right.
that was provided the opportunity to appear before you.
Okay.
Anything else?
So I'm confused, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna just let them stay open? Is someone gonna call them and say, hey,
No, we
you
have
you
a-
need to get a license?
Again, that's,
a
we're
suggested
not talking
motion
about
here if you're
I mean, you can provide your direction to staff as to 2026 is what you'd like to see. But, generally, I think staff was gonna continue to pursue this as best we
Okay.
can. The action tonight is a formal revocation of the 2025 license. Again, I understand that it may sound silly to do that,
Yeah.
but I'd like to put a bow on the process that we gave notice of a hearing on that license, an opportunity to appear to speak on that license, and I don't just like having that not be brought to a conclusion.
Staff is also bringing this forward for clarity, just so there's no question, we can say this was presented to the city commission, here's the status due to the non-payment of taxes. So again, this just provides clarity in our communication with them.
So this is just dealing with the tax issue, not the license.
So the motion that's included in your
Says-
packet
Let's do
moves to.
Unpaid transient
It's here.
guest tax to revoke their license for 2025.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
There could always be a second motion, but that's the one.
okay.
I'll move that pursuant to Charter Ordinance number 16 as a result of unpaid transient guest taxes, we permanently revoke any license or permission that the owner or operator of Home 2 Suites located at 250 Delaware Street in Leavenworth currently has or may have to operate a hotel, motel, or lodging establishment at or from such location.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 All right, okay. Good, thank you. Thank you for that explanation too.
And then maybe we could have a follow-up at some point about, just
Yeah,
keep us
we will.
posted on the situation.
Yeah, I
I can
think
provide
this is,
updates.
I may just be by myself, but I just think I think it's a big deal.
It is a
I
big
think
deal.
people should be,
I just don't want the police to go raiding the hotel with people inside,
Well,
but it
yeah,
is a
but-
big deal.
we gotta slowly figure out what we're gonna, either they're gonna get a license or they're not. I mean, we just can't have one hotel operating without a license, but the other one's doing their due diligence.
And staff is certainly working on those issues, but it does
Okay.
take a little bit of time and administration to do.
Okay. Yeah, I would like an update, like timeline, how we're gonna do that. I mean, I find it insane that we're even got to this point.
Yeah.
Well, as a small business owner, I think things happen, and so I think we want to be flexible, but I think if somebody has the opportunity to appear and speak on their behalf and plead their case, that's where we would provide some grace, and I don't think, if they can't take the time to come and talk with us, I think that's
This
the
has a lot
issue.
right there. Yeah.
And we need to be careful with the World Cup coming up, because that hotel might be booked
Correct.
full of
Already, yeah.
already, and we might have to cancel all those reservations if this doesn't get resolved, so, yeah.
Good point.
It's unfortunate.
Good point. Okay, moving on. Resolutions. Number 7, Resolution B 2413 to set a public hearing for fire damage structure at 130 Logan Street.
Mayor, this would be Hal Burdette, the chief building inspector.
Hello, Mr. Burdette, how are
Good
you?
evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As you said, this resolution is to set a public hearing date of March 10th, 2026 to discuss the fire damaged structure at 130 Logan Street. For the new commissioners, this process involves anytime a structure is damaged to more than 75% of the face value of the insurance policy, the insurance company is required to provide the city with a check or money, which is equal to 15% of the settlement. The city holds those funds to either ensure that we have the funds if we have to demolish the structure, or we hold the funds until repairs are made to the point that staff is comfortable that the project is going to be completed and we release the funds back to the property owner. So that we don't really discuss the issues tonight. We set March 10th as the public hearing date, and that's the evening that we will ask the owner to be here to discuss their plans with you, and then you guys can at that time decide what direction you are comfortable with going with those funds. If they don't plan on demolish or repairing, we can move forward with demolition at that time.
Easy enough?
Makes sense.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, sometimes we see them, they'll fix it all up and then we release the funds to them.
That's good.
So
That's
we
very
see
good.
that happen.
That's how we prefer it to go.
Yes, I'm
absolutely.
It's the
sure.
first time I've seen it been on the commission where they didn't fix it up.
Oh, really? Well, I guess they have 2 more months, or.
Yeah, as my report says, there has been no contact by the owner and there's been no applications for permits at this time.
Okay.
All right, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number B-2413, setting March 10th, 2026 as the date for the public hearing regarding the unsafe structure located at 130 Logan Street.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Maxwell.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, bids, contracts, and agreements. Consider award of bid for main electrical switchgear replacement at the WWTP.
This will be Brian Faust, Public Works Director.
Hi, guys.
Good evening.
Oh, and John Lemke from the wastewater treatment plant.
He's here to back me up this evening. Well, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As stated, this item is to consider award of a contract with Capital Electric Company for the removal and replacement of the main switchgear at the wastewater treatment plant. For background, the existing switchgear is vintage 1970s equipment. If the power does go down at the plant from one of the 2 different lines that feed the plant, the switchgear is used to switch to the other feed. The current gear is a manual switchgear, requiring staff to contact a third party with the appropriate equipment and safety equipment to make this change. Depending upon the availability of that third party, the plant may be down for an extended period of time. Typically, when the power goes out, a lot of times it's related to a storm. We may have a lot of rain, and so we may have I&I going to the plant. We can't afford to be down. The new switchgear uses current technology, which will automatically switch to an active feed in case of a failure. This limits the plant downtime and is a significant safety enhancement. The plans and specifications were prepared by Black & Veatch, and they are here tonight to answer any questions you may have. And the project was advertised on our Bonfire online bidding platform. Bids were opened on December 3rd, and we had 2 bidders. The low bid was submitted by Capital Electric in the amount of $1,499,117. In discussions with Black & Veatch, they feel it is important as part of the project to include testing of the 2 existing capacitors. This testing will add an additional $7,770 to the contract for a total price of $1,506,887. The CIP does include funding in an amount of $1,137,000 for this project. The difference between the budget and the actual is $369,000. This difference will be covered by cost savings on other WPC projects. The policy is the City Commission generally does award a contract to the lowest bidder if the bid is less than the engineer's estimate and whose evaluation indicates that the award will be in the best interest of the city. The low bid from Capital, they are qualified, and it is under the engineer's estimate. The staff does recommend the City Commission authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Capital Electric Company in the amount of $1,506,887 for the replacement of the main switchgear and capacitor testing at the wastewater treatment plant. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
How old are the old capacitors?
They're 1970s, they're pretty old.
Okay. Explains the test, I was just curious.
Is this at all going to be able to be, this might be a dumb question, be able to be transferred to the new, like if we get a new plant? Like, is this?
Yeah, this will still be in place.
Okay, good. So it's just an investment, yeah.
And we are working with Black and Veatch, like I said, they're here this evening, they designed this, they're also doing our master plan update, so they're aware of what we need for the future.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions on this? No?
No.
Well, if you don't have any, I don't have any.
Well,
It's kind of cut and dry.
Yeah, I think it is.
I will move that we authorize Mayor Bowder to sign a contract with Capital Electric Company, Inc. in the amount of $1,506,887 for the replacement of the main switchgear and capacitor testing at the wastewater treatment plant.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you, guys. Okay, next item, first consideration ordinances. First consideration ordinance to rezone 220, 226, and 232 Seneca Street from,
I think we may have, I think we're on the Camp Leavenworth item, Mayor.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I skipped Camp Leavenworth. How could I do that, Kelly? It's not possible. Okay. Consider the award of contract for 2026 Camp Leavenworth event management.
This will be Brian Bailey, the Parks and Rec Deputy Director, and Christy Lee, the CVB Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We are here to propose for you to consider approving the contract with O'Neill Events and Marketing to manage the 2026 Camp Leavenworth Festival for $74,000. This is the city's signature event, and it's scheduled to take place on September 18th and 19th, and it will be the 7th year that O'Neill has managed this event for the city. It's a memorable festival for everyone, and it brings thousands of residents and visitors together to enjoy the day-and-a-half event. We've included the 2026 scope of work for you to look at, and then we also included the 2025 year in review that O'Neill sent to us to go over as far as a lot of the other events that they manage throughout the year in the Kansas City area. So, Brian, would you have anything you want to add?
We can just answer questions.
Answer questions, and then also Kelly and Aaron are here from from O'Neill to answer any questions that you might have as well.
Well, I've read this, but I just wondered if, Kelly, if you have any comments to make on, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Nice to meet the new commissioners. Congrats on your new appointment. We absolutely love this festival. I think last year it was wonderful to have an event with no weather issues, which is always something I cannot control, but we had a great weather. We had the best attendance we've ever had. We tried some new things by having gin blossoms, a larger act. We kind of did some new things that some of the local committee suggested, and it turned out really great. And we loved the support, former mayor. Thanks for all of that. So we're just excited to do it again and try some new things.
I love the fact that the other bands were outstanding.
Yes.
I mean, not just the gin bosses, but I thought they all were great.
Traditionally, it takes about 5 years for a festival like this to kind of get its legs. And you have to try some things. You have to kind of get the investment of food trucks to kind of say, okay, we'll come out. They want to see the people. Well, you can't do that when it's bad weather. We can't control that, so people won't come if it's bad weather. So to be able to do that, I think there's a lot of energy where I've already started to reach out to some of our vendors and some things just to get some feedback, and I think it's on to good things this year.
What kind of new things are we thinking here? Just
Carnival?
possibilities.
Yes, I know. The carnival we're already working on, so I do hope you sign that contract. But we've called a few different carnivals are the hardest thing to get. It's the most busy time of year. So we've reached out to a few options. We're trying to get a couple more. And our hope is to bring a carnival in. It's a little bit more expensive. Obviously, a carnival, again, if weather doesn't come through, you don't sell tickets to it. But we are also looking at trying to do something similar with entertainment, which is looking at options for a larger act that might draw some more people. And just kind of take a few things that worked really well last year and then kind of move things. It's always good to keep a festival fresh. So we're going to meet, our hope is we meet right away and get with the committee and start making some of those decisions.
I have to say, I enjoyed being on the committee, and I'm back next year.
Yay.
So the mayor's appointed me to that, so I'm super excited. The only thing I had questions on is the sponsorship bonus compensation. As you know,
You did come in on that,
Yeah.
yes.
how do you do that? Would that be the
So
same or-
basically, just how it really works is we've always really needed to work with the city on getting the connection. So it's less about getting the sponsor, it's about servicing it. So if we have multiple sponsors, we have to come up with, how do we service them? If they're just a simple, like, here's a check, that's fine. But most of the time it's, do they want on-site activation? Do they want a name? And so we have to rebrand some of the stuff.
Okay.
If they want a stage name or they want to sponsor the carnival. We also, then some of those do come through, I'm pitching a few on festivals in Kansas City, so I'm always pitching those marketing type ones that come in. So it's a little combo that's mostly
Okay.
just the implementation of it, but it's a good point.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah.
I'm all in. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we work as a team. I think we got a great committee. I definitely still want to bring in the downtown businesses as much as we can.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think we kind of
We
started
That chamber, the
Chamber.
chariots or whatever we call them, we ended up getting,
That's
the
good.
golf
I
carts
would-
that picked up people all over. It was
Right.
a really great way to kind of engage people into the
Main Street
downtown.
was kind of in transition. They've got a great director now, bring them in.
Oh, good.
Again, more local, we had a lot of local vendors, so I think we're really got that stride. The staff, Parks and Rec is
Fantastic.
kiss. So, yeah,
That's great.
I'm excited.
And your social media helped us a little too, so thank
There
you.
you go.
We need that.
So, yeah, more social media. I think I was super proud of the festival.
It
And
was-
again, I mean,
Last year was one of the best. I
the
think.
weather,
The weather really nice.
so what did the date, September?
18th and 19th.
So we moved it up a weekend, and a lot of that is, looking at the major events in the region. Art Fair is late this year, so it goes
Okay.
Kansas City Art Fair, which is a big attraction in
That's
Kansas City.
Yeah.
It really just affects if we don't get a ton of
Yeah.
of visitors, but that's our goal, right?
So we're not on that weekend?
We are
Okay,
not, so
good.
we moved it to the other.
Okay, and I think also what helped us was there was a race weekend, so a lot of people didn't have anything to do at night, so they came up when they heard the gym bosses.
Yeah, I do think that the race is on the next weekend though,
Oh,
this
okay.
year. We did look at all the different options and we kind of weighed them, and I think the suggestion is, try not to be on the busier weekend.
Right, no, great, okay,
Yeah.
got it on my calendar.
Great.
Thank
Well, I
you.
think everybody's really enjoyed it and a lot of good things happened. What is something you think that we can improve upon next year?
I think marketing is always a new game, right? And so maybe continuing looking at new alternatives to marketing. We have looked at maybe there's some country acts that we could try. They're expensive. So if it's not throwback, as we call it, country might be something we look at. I really do think the carnival would be a win-win. I love the idea. It's finding the carnival that will do it and do it well. And so maybe we start baby steps this year if we can find one and then try to grow it. So I think those two things are key. We did the skateboard, if you guys remember, that was a new
Yeah, that was
activation.
really good.
They were wonderful partners. They really
They
got
were great,
engaged.
yeah.
And I think the more, which we've been wanting to do, it's just hard to get everybody there, engaging the community. It's
Yeah.
going to make it bigger and stronger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. Anything else? Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay. Any other questions? General questions? For Kelly or for staff?
Nope.
Brian, anything else, Brian?
No,
We kind of didn't let you talk very much here.
that's all right.
Kind of cut you off.
I like being quiet.
Do we need a motion?
I would do.
I'll make a motion that approve the contract with O'Neill Events and Marketing and Managing for the 2026 Camp Leavenworth in the amount of $74,000.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting. Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Now we
I'm sorry, you guys, for throwing you off here. Okay, now we're on first consideration, which first consideration, we do a consensus, and for the general public that don't know, ask us why we make decisions so quickly. Usually we've seen them for first consideration, second consideration, et cetera, so we see what we're working on long before we ever actually vote on it, so just so you know. First consideration ordinance to rezone 220, 226, and 232 Seneca Street from residential mixed multifamily to central business district.
And this will be handled by Kim Portillo, our Director of Planning and Community Development.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, hello, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So as you stated, this is a consensus item for rezoning. So this property was zoned from CBD to multifamily in 2013. At that time, there was a particular developer who was interested in making it a townhome development. Since 2013, that developer and project have gone away, and we haven't had any genuine interest in seeing this develop as multifamily. So what we have right now is Abernathy Lofts is right there next door. They are now the owners of these properties and are looking to put a parking lot for additional parking space for their lofts on one of these parcels. And then we also recommended as staff that they include the separate two because we didn't want to allow just a small amount of multifamily left that really wouldn't be developable with those two smaller lots left over. So that is why we recommended it the way that it is, and the applicant was in agreement with that. It does fit with the future land use because it's in the overlay district. So technically, if a developer did want to come in and do multifamily because it's in that North Neighborhood Overlay District, they still could. But with what the current property owner wants to do, they cannot do that in the current multifamily zoning district. So a standalone parking lot for commercial use is not allowed in the multifamily zoning district. This did go to Planning Commission on December 1st and was approved by a vote of 5-0. We have not received any public comment either at that meeting other than the applicant who was there and spoke on behalf of it, and we have not received any comments since.
Okay, is one lot gonna be used for parking or all three?
One.
Just one, so right
Just
now,
one, and so the other two will just be for possible development?
Exactly, yeah.
And it
Okay.
could be townhomes,
Could
even
be
if
either.
with this rezoning.
It could be, and actually with the rezoning, it would make it a little bit easier because it would diminish the setbacks. So CBD has 0 lot line setbacks versus in multifamily, they would have some pretty constraining setbacks to work with.
Okay. Okay, do we, any other questions? Okay, do we have a consensus to move forward?
Yes.
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 Okay, we're moving forward then. All right, thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda, Mr. Wilson, consent agenda.
No,
What about the options for
yeah, we have so,
vacancies?
Oh, what am I doing here? Looking at the wrong thing.
That's okay.
Yes, we do need to look at that. I didn't want to talk about that. We need to review options to address vacancies in the city commission.
okay.
David
Thank
Waters,
you,
City
guys.
Attorney.
Thank you, guys.
Good evening again. So this fall, the commission was presented with some findings that staff had done in going through the code that, lo and behold, there were no provisions in city code for vacancies in the position of commissioner. I know staff and I went back through other iterations of the code, and it wasn't that something was ever deleted or anything like that. It's just the city of Leavenworth has apparently been so fortunate that it's never had to deal with that issue, that it never came up. Nevertheless, we thought that it would be good to have such a provision just in case something should happen and that there needs to be a vacancy filled on the commission. At that time, we brought a general recommendation of a pretty simple appointment process. If there's a vacancy, appointment by the mayor, confirmation by the rest of the commission. The commission asked us to go back and look at some different options beyond that, including the possibility of having elections. And that opened up a whirlwind of review and such. You have a detailed report in your packet, so I'm not gonna just read through it and everything, I'm gonna try to give you some of the highlights. You know, starting with the the Leavenworth County Election Office, or the county clerk's office there, about the possibility of elections, that they were under the impression that, one particular statute, that is generally applicable to cities of the first class says you can only do appointments and not special elections. I disagreed and do disagree with the county on that interpretation of it, for several reasons. Is that statute speaks of wards, it speaks of councils, it doesn't speak to this type of form of government, the commission manager form of government that you have. And I talked a little bit about just what this commission manager form of government is there, anyways. So, we ask ourselves, okay, well, are there rules? What rules do apply to vacancies in the city of Leavenworth, if not this one statute? And the other one I identified was, that could be potentially applicable, is KSA 12-104A, which was adopted in 2015 by the Kansas legislature. And that statute provides the following processes for filling of vacancies. Similar to what we had originally recommended, the governing body, by a majority vote of the remaining members, is to appoint a person to fill the vacancy. The statute does not say who makes the appointment, so, you know, whether it's a round robin, whoever gets the motion made first, that's kind of unclear under the statute. There are some time limitations within that must be made. It's a 60-day period. The appointment's not made within such 60 days, for whatever reason, then generally a special election would be called. And that special election would be held within 45 days of that. So it establishes a process that sounds like, okay, reasonable enough, right? We have an appointment, and if we can't agree on an appointment, we're gonna hold an election. And it, you know, sounds like all good. The problem is that even under that statute, the Kansas legislature, in its infinite wisdom in 2025, passed a bill that limits cities' abilities to hold special elections and when you can do it. Previously, the statute read that special election generally means any election that's not a general or primary election. And those are general elections in November. The primary elections are defined as the ones being held in August. And it provided some parameters, you just can't do it within 45 days. So it provided some flexibility as to when you could hold special elections. So you could arguably meet the statutory requirements of whenever a vacancy occurs, you've got the 60 days to fill it. If not, you have 45 days. You could arguably fill it in. Still problems with that from a practical standpoint because of new ballot technology issues and reviewing machines and things like that makes even meeting such a 45-day time period nearly impossible. But we'll leave that aside. In 2025, the legislature changed the special election definition to mean any election held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in March of any year on the same day, or on the same day as a general or primary election. So essentially, that window of when you could work these things in, of when you could call a special election, because again, you don't know when a vacancy must occur, you may have to have it at this time or that time. The legislature shrank your opportunities to actually hold a special election and said it can only be done on 3 days now.
Yeah.
The first Tuesday at the first Monday in March, whenever your primary election is in August, and whenever your general election is, might be. So that directly conflicts with the statute that says has to be held within 45 days. You can't do both. So what the city would be, and I point out there, would be faced with is that a vacancy could happen at any time, but you'd be hamstrung on when you could do such an election. And some of the highlights, some of the things I point out in there is that there's some filing deadline issues as to when those can be done. And you could arguably have situations where you could have just a real extended period of time without any vacancy being able to be filled because you have to wait for one of these days to come around and such. And I'm not going to go through all of those. So What my recommendation is, and I have a couple of them, is that of these statutes, you charter out of these statutes. And I have a little primer in there about what it means to charter out of a statute and adopt, again, kind of back to where we are, your own regulations. But we also still have a framework that we have to work within as to when special elections could be held and such. But at least we're not just adopting the Kansas statute that would be in direct conflict with those. I point out that Leavenworth is also unique in that members of the commission can be elected for either 4-year or 2-year terms. So finding kind of a one-size-fits-all approach can be a little bit difficult. And I think the commission recognized this when we brought this matter up in the fall. As an example, I point out if a vacancy occurs in a 4-year term, a pure appointment process could lead to a commissioner serving a very long time without, kind of having been put before the people. If a vacancy occurs in a 2-year term, and you do a special election type process, that juice might not be worth the squeeze as to when you can get that in, and is it even worth doing all of that, for what might be a short period of time as to when that appointed person holds the office. And then, of course, we're dealing with just the statutory timings on when you can have elections. So what I provided, and I don't know if it's in the staff report or not. Well, what I have drafted, and trust me,
it's in there. It's in there.
The resolutions?
The ordinances
Yeah.
are in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank God, I haven't forwarded much in there. Is one option that does provide, again, a kind of a pure appointment process, and another option that has a mix of appointments with elections in certain cases, basically where the vacancy would be for a longer term. For the appointment process, I've got language in here, but my notes on this are that, appointment process certainly provides the simplest process and the simplest approach for the city. Regardless of a 2-year or 4-year term, the appointed person would stay through that term. The process, under my thinking, under this draft ordinance, the process would start with appointment by the mayor. And that appointment would still have a check and balance that would require confirmation by the governing body. Even so, there's a risk that there could be a deadlock at 2 to 2 in some way. Some of you may recall that we've had issues with appointments to various boards and commissions in here, and that there are statutory requirements that appointments must be acted upon within a certain period of time, or if an appointment is going to be rejected, there has to be a resolution finding that the person is unsuitable or not qualified for the role. So I build in, because that is a statute that applies, I build in that, that as a way to generally try to break a deadlock. But by and large, it's an appointment process with the check being confirmation by the rest of the city commission. The hybrid option is a little bit of a mix. We would not propose a special election for vacant commissioners under 2-year terms or less than 2 years remaining, given the difficulty of conducting an election, especially during off years, and trying to balance the cost of elections versus the relatively short time period of appointment. However, what we've drafted is where the vacancy is in the position of a person elected for a 4-year term, and where a significant part of that term still remains. Staff would propose that person could still be appointed, but that person would not necessarily serve the remainder of the term. We could line it up so that then that person would come up at whenever the next general election is, and we're saying, okay, it's technically a special election, but it's held at the same time. And we say, you basically hold it until this next, and if you win at that point, then you get to finish out the 2-year term, knowing that, okay, then no matter what the vote is on it, you're not ranked with the rest of them, you have to run on your own for your own separate term separately then.
Right.
We do have certain cutoff dates for that. We selected April 1st. We try to balance of these as to when we're deciding whether it's going to be an election or an appointment, because a line does have to be drawn somewhere. An April 1st date, if the vacancy has occurred by that date, that provides time to meet the filing deadlines, which are June 1st. So trying to make sure that we have room there that, if it's a vacancy occurs on May 30th, we would basically say, you need to just go to the appointment process, because you can't hold an election coming up with
Right.
1 day's notice of filing deadlines to comply with those statutes as well. So you see is kind of a lot of trying to mix what the statutes say and the calendars, and trying to find some reasonable time periods that allow, people to consider where they would run, people to file they might. If it's such a short period of time, let's just do an appointment process. But again, trying to find that right balance. And there may be room on these, these are my recommendations, these are my suggestions on it. But I can certainly consider more. I would say if there are specific comments on some of this, this is a night to ask questions and things like that. We're not having this presented for you to adopt tonight.
Right.
I apologize if I might not have all the answers, just sitting here right now, but I'll do my best to try to answer them. So those are my recommendations. And as part of this, there's a little bit of cleanup too. I'm recommending that we do this as part of a charter ordinance. And going back to the situation where the Leavenworth County Clerk's Office said, well, we think this statute applies, I think it doesn't. There are a few other statutes like that that really don't apply to the city of Leavenworth as you're currently governed anymore. So taking this opportunity to kind of clean up and say, that statute, we're not going to follow that one. We're not going to abide by that one. And it's not because you're choosing not to follow the law. It's because certain statutes, as I point out about charter ordinances, apply unequally to different cities. And so that gives you, under your home rule powers, the ability to charter out of them and adopt provisions that work for you. So that is the general theme of what it, I don't necessarily have a recommendation one way or the other as to an appointment process or an election process, other than my statements. That for your consideration is certainly the appointment process, and just doing that would be the cleanest, easiest, simplest.
Yes.
The hybrid process would be messier. You'd have elections and have to count deadlines and things like that, but that also might be balanced out by a sense of accountability of, as well. That might, and that's for you to weigh whether those factors weigh in pro or favor of that. So those are the thoughts that I have for you this evening.
The appointment process would be easier. There was something I read in here about taking the person who had, in the voting lineup, who was like number 4, who didn't make it onto the commission, and that person possibly being appointed.
That would be in the, that you wouldn't need to do that for a pure appointment process. That would just be the mayor's discretion as to whether that's the person you appoint.
Okay.
What I suggested that as an option is if you open up a special election and not enough people run for the seat.
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Right.
You've called an election, whatever, and so then, again, part of the job of a lawyer is you're often looking at worst case scenarios and things that may not ever happen, but, it hit my mind like, well, what if we do this and no one decides to run on this? And, are we just gonna go another 3 years or whatever it is, 2 years, without somebody? Or should we just have that as the default rule on it,
Well, I like
Or
the
you
idea.
could schedule an arm wrestling contest as an alternative too, but that made the most sense to me.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the I was looking at the hybrid and having that, because we have the 2 or 4, we have that issue, and you would just be leaving the vacancy there, not that long in between then, so.
And it leaves it up to the people more. I like the hybrid one.
Yeah.
What happens if the mayor picks someone and they don't get through? Then you start all over?
If the mayor picks
someone
and you're deadlocked at a 2-2.
Well, yeah, or at 4-1.
Or 4-1, what if the
4-1,
other?
I think they just have to pick someone
What if,
else,
what if
right?
what if I picked my brother
Yeah.
to be on the commission, and the rest of the commission didn't want
Well,
them to
so
be
that
there?
goes to very similar, that was we talked about with the appointments to the boards and commissions. That in that case, basically this, the city commission would have to take an affirmative position that the person is not, may not have the exact language, not qualified for it, et cetera. And if that happens in that case, the commissioners have to go on the record on that, and the mayor would try again.
Well, why can't we have something like people who are interested apply and we interview them?
So generally speaking, those are the types of things that I leave to more of a policy or a protocol and not a binding law,
I like that
an
idea.
ordinance.
Like they do for the boards. Yeah.
And I mean, for example, that every mayor may have, to put into law as this is a rule that every application shall be by this date and that. I mean, we could do all that. Now we start building up a much longer ordinance, when we're just kind of talking, in my opinion, more about processes and understanding. I think we talked a little bit of this about our, at a retreat and orientation. At the big scale, some of those things go to how do you work with each other, how do you manage each other, and if you're not satisfied with the process, then that would be reflected in a vote, but not trying, I suppose, to dictate every stage of an interview process as law. That seems to me to be a little bit unwieldy, to say things, and interviews must be, if you're having an ordinance that says application must be by this date, and then interviews must be held by this date, and then I'm starting thinking, okay, well, what if the interview can't be held? Is there any flex time for this? Do they have to do that? Now I'm adding 4 pages to my ordinance for things that are kind of more processes and, internal processes, I suppose, more so than what I would generally want to put into binding law.
Right.
I don't know, I feel like if people are interested in the position, they're gonna apply for it, and then as a team, we could interview them and see why they're interested, and we could decide together, but.
But they could run if they're interested in the hybrid situation.
Oh, well, once they get appointed.
Well, again, I think that
No.
the issue though then there is, there's nothing preventing you from having something like that in this. But ultimately, if there's going to be appointment, somebody has to be the one to make the appointment. And then, have a vote on that.
Fair.
Okay. Well, this is a lot to think about.
It is.
It's something we don't have to do immediately. We can.
I hope not.
Yeah, drive safe on the way home.
I hope for all of your sakes it's not something, but it is something that we should address.
Yeah.
Again, there are rules in place. There is that ordinance, there's that statute that provides for the appointment and a special election if it's not done in time. That can be an underlying default rule to go to.
I like that.
But it's, no, but the problem with that is that it doesn't work with the new bill on when you can hold elections. So, yes, if something happens, there is something we could follow, but it is not ideal. It could create situations where, based on when elections now could be held, you're waiting a long time for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's best for the city to adopt something, sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's why local control is important.
What you're saying is it could still happen if you did the hybrid model where we decide, we don't write this down, but we decide as a commission that how we want to appoint people is an application process maybe.
Sure.
And then we could interview them and then they would just have to run after those 2 years. So it could be.
Well, it kind of takes out the politicalness of it, I think, if anybody who wants to run applies, we interview them or.
I agree with that.
And then, we don't run into, we kind of decide as a group.
Yeah, and again, it really comes down to is every, staff has lots of processes, lots of policies, purchasing policies, things like that, things that we tend to try to follow and such. A lot of those we don't put into binding law because if there's if there's an exception that needs to be made for some way or something doesn't quite work out, well, then you've broken the law if you don't follow every little detail specifically. Whereas some of these things might be best as policies. So there could be, my recommendation on this might be that in conjunction with this, should the governing body adopt a policy of, here's how we expect that we will address these situations through interviews or what have you, et cetera, et cetera. But if there has to be a deviation from it in some way, we don't risk having broken the law because it's our own
Got it,
ordinance,
okay.
or risk having to do a first consideration ordinance to change the law to accommodate this one-off situation, and then a second consider to do that some of those, what I would consider softer processes are probably better left as administrative processes or policies, rather than black letter law.
So would this be a policy or an ordinance?
This would be an ordinance. I'm talking about, though, some of the things that Commissioner Pittman is talking about is, we should all work together, we should hold
Yeah, the
meetings, we should
policies.
do interviews, should we
Best
attack?
practice.
Some of those things, I would tend to say, would be best placed in a policy, how you relate to each other, how you
Right.
work together.
Okay.
Things like that,
Okay.
that are easier to change than black letter law.
I'll bring this together.
Thank you. Move it over. Okay, thanks so much, David. All right, anything else on that? All right, now we
So
can move on.
I suppose I should, but am I hearing correctly that the consensus to staff would be to eventually bring the hybrid option to you for your consideration?
Yes.
Is that kind of what
Right
I'm
now,
hearing?
yeah.
I mean,
Because the
maybe we
2-year,
could work, I
4-year
mean, there might
thing.
be some more work to do on it, but that's generally
Right.
the direction I'm,
Yeah.
at least that's the direction I'm hearing.
That's,
The 2-year, 4-year.
after studying it, that was my
My
choice.
My choice as well.
Yeah,
Okay, then we'll kind of go down that path, teeing that up for your consideration.
okay, thank you.
Cost-wise. We'll see.
Okay, next item on the agenda, consent agenda.
Okay, I've been practicing this,
Those times,
reading these
yeah.
big numbers, so. Claims for 5 December 2025 through January 8, 2026 in the amount of $4,644,326.76. Net amount for longevity pay effective December 5, 2025 in the amount of $41,091.16. Net amount for payroll number 25 effective December 12, 2025 in the amount of $445,431.30. No police and fire pension. And payroll number 26 effective December 26, 2025 in the amount of $416,931.43, which includes police and fire pension in the amount of $7,753.58.
Nailed it.
Second. Good job. So I second, I didn't second, you guys second it. All right, all right, begin voting.
Aye.
Commissioner Maxwell.
Aye.
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 All right, we're good. Before we go into executive session, we'll go around the horn here. Mr. Waters, did you have anything more to add tonight?
I do not this evening. I will just say, expect in the next month, a lot of our attention is going to be focusing on the special use permit application that's
Yes,
coming. So, you'll be hearing from us more on that, and that's probably one of the major things.
Okay.
That is the major thing that we'll be working on. We do still have a Court of Appeals oral argument date scheduled in the second week of February as well.
Okay, so that
And that is
hasn't
still
been.
happening, regardless.
Okay,
That is still happening.
all right.
That's in Leavenworth? Or is that Topeka?
That is in Topeka with the Court of Appeals.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
I have 2 items for the commission tonight. The first, we look forward to supporting our economic development partners at their annual events this week. Friday over the lunch hour is LCDC, and Saturday is the Main Street annual event. The city has tickets for those who have RSVP'd, and they should be great events, so excited to see everyone there. And then Monday, January 19th is the federal Martin Luther King holiday. City Hall is closed, and trash is delayed by 1 day. That's all I have.
I don't have anything to that.
you have anything?
No, just happy to be here. Happy New Year, everybody, and looking forward to the year.
Commissioner Wilson, anything?
I just want to thank everybody that actually comes and attends these meetings and sits through this with us, as well as everybody watching, takes the time and the interest in what we do and interest in our city. So, I appreciate that.
No, I don't have anything.
The only thing I have is on Monday, the Martin Luther King Day, we'll be reading a city proclamation at the Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Celebration Day, which would be put on by the First Methodist Church, the NAACP, and the Bethel AME Church. So it will be held at 6:30 on the 19th, and everybody is welcome to come. And it'll be at the First Methodist Church. So that's all I have. Now we'll go to the last item on the agenda. Will there be any other business for us tonight? Okay, if not, we will adjourn into executive session, and then we'll come back and we'll adjourn here. So, how much time do we need, sir? Or
30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. So, I move the city commission recess into executive session for a period of 30 minutes for the purpose of discussing security measures pursuant to the discussion of matters relating to security measures that protect a public body or agency, public building or facility, or the information system of a public body or agency, exception per KSA 75-4319B12C, whatever. The city commission, assistant city manager, city attorney, director of information technology, and IT network specialist will be present. The open meeting will resume in the city commission chambers at 8 p.m.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting.
Aye.
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 All right.
Okay, anything else, Sarah? No? Okay. That, well, we gotta wait till 8.
Oh, we gotta wait till, yes, wait a minute.
Then it can be really quick.
Okay. It's 8 o'clock, and with that, no other business, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah,
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye. All those in favor, stand up and leave.